Welcome back. Welcome back. Your man Dominic K in here, of course. The Dominic K Show on firetelevision.com, radioonfire.com. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. Time flies. Time flies. We are already 1 year into the Biden-Harris administration, and I wanted to take some time to look back at this last year. And, it's been an interesting one. Biden, he's older. He's an older gentleman. And that definitely comes out whenever he talks, whenever the press conference the other day. We're going to talk about that. Harris is unpopular. Biden's unpopular. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. And what can Democrats do about this? I don't know. So 1 year, where did that year go? What's interesting about the Biden-Harris administration, they're the same place now that they started. From the standpoint of COVID-19, COVID-19 is here. It is something that they are dealing with. Something that has affected everything about this first year. Considerable amount of drama in the Biden administration. VP Harris, when she was, and I was talking to my father about this. What is it about Kamala Harris now that is different than when she was running for president herself? When she does interviews, she doesn't seem like she's all the way there. You know what I mean? And my father says that they give her talking points, and he says that the thing is that she doesn't believe in the talking points and the direction of President Biden. So she's just going through the motions. And when she was running for president, she believed in the things that she was saying. She believed it, and therefore she delivered her messages better. And now, and this is according to my father, and I think that there's a lot. I think there's a lot to that, right? When she was on the campaign trail, talking about VP Kamala Harris, when she was on the campaign trail, she just had more oomph about it, right? When she was on the campaign trail. Now she's in office and she does interviews, and she does a terrible job at interviews. Somebody with the portfolio that she has, why is she so bad in interviews? Now, what we gonna say? I'm being hard on her. She's bad at interviews. She gives her opponents the ammunition to come at her. The way she delivers some of these interviews. And they're supposed to be, they send her out there, toe the tag of the administration, to redeem herself, all kind of stuff. And usually she does something. Now, Joe Biden is not a lot better. If you want to even go back to when he was vice president, Joe Biden was good for some type of a viral moment. They're going to catch him cussing, saying something crazy. And now that he is, will be 80 shortly after the midterm elections. Wow. That by itself increases scrutiny on the official. It does. As the cliche goes, just a heartbeat away. Just a heartbeat away from the highest office in the land is Kamala Harris. Democrats speculating that he won't run in 2024. At the same time, they are starting to worry Harris won't be an upgrade. Some may think like that. Biden says that he's running. Kamala Harris is going to be his girl once more, right? Now, let's just pretend that speculation is correct. And Harris doesn't have nearly 7 years to show that she could grow into the job and see her popularity rebound. Then what? Now, I say rebound because when she was coming in to the office, she was more popular than she is now. What has happened to cause VP Harris to not be popular? Is it that people are seeing through some of her, ways? Or are they seeing through some of her delivery? Or are they not happy with the job that she has done? Is it really hard to be vice president? Mike, Mike Pence made it look easy. All he did was kiss Trump's butt for the whole 4 years. VP Harris has a lot on her shoulder. She comes in to the office with history on her side, so to speak. Now, President Biden, his poll numbers are bad. I'm not going to make any mistake about that. His poll numbers are bad. And VP Harris, she might be even worse. Approval ratings. Now, a job approval as low as 28%, that's pretty bad. Now, this has led to a lot of finger pointing within the White House. Who is to blame? Joe Biden's got to be to blame. He's the president. He's setting the tone. Now, things looked a lot different. When we had Trump in office and there was complete chaos, people wanted Joe Biden. And now we have Joe Biden. And now what? We have 1 year to look at this team, this administration. Have they done the best that they can do? No, they could have done a lot better. Now, Republicans didn't do them any favors. That's for damn sure. Republicans did not do them any favors. It is hard to see what VP Harris has done that is worse than the performance of, unpopular VPs in the past. Dan Quayle, Dick Cheney, they weren't popular, right? If Joe Biden does not run, the normal solution to this problem, fantasizing about the VP being dropped from the ticket for re-election, that's unavailable. She's the vice president. He's getting ready to be 80 years old. Who are we kidding? How much time does Joe Biden have left to run? He's going to be in his mid-80s running? No. Clearly, you can see this is going in another direction. The Democrats were so desperate to get rid of Donald Trump that they put a very elderly Joe Biden in office. And he was doing his press conference the other day. I think that he was getting older by the minute. The beginning of the press conference and the ends, he did a couple of hours. He answered questions and all that. And I felt that extended period of time with him in front of the cameras and in interacting with the press corps exposed what we already know. It was something to see. So Democrats, they've seen this movie before. They have. Many are going to deflect the sexism and the likability questions that have plagued candidates like Hillary Clinton, candidates like Elizabeth Warren, and now Kamala Harris. Right? They also watched Hillary Clinton lose to the former president, Donald Trump. Neither Harris nor Warren gained much traction in that 2020 Democratic primary. Hillary Clinton put in that work. Now, I'm sure the Democrats don't want to see anything like that happen again. But here we are with a Democratic president who is approaching 80 years old. For all intents and purposes, Kamala Harris is the number 2 person. So what does that mean? Does that mean that they have to prime Kamala Harris? Yeah. and I'm not very excited about that. I'm not excited about that. I don't know whether or not she's going to grow into this, because in order to get elected president, she has got to check a lot of boxes. She has to, in the words of my father, she has got to get people to like her. Do people like her? There is a sense of urgency here. There is a sense of urgency among Democrats about Kamala Harris's political problems. We talk about pandemics, the COVID-19 pandemic raging on, no end in sight. You want to talk about panic? Democrats are probably panicking right now. And that's understandable. Do liberals really want to see this lovely woman of color taken down by political conditions that are ultimately the fault of an old white man? Talking about Joe Biden. She's going to inherit what he is doing. His he's very moderate. He's very weak. He's very go along, get along. And these are some of the things that got him elected. But yet these are the same things that have plagued his first year. Indecisiveness, lack of strength. He can't get Congress folks to do anything. Like, the president's going to come down there. They like, don't bring your ass down here. I told you what I thought before, yesterday, the day before that, 3 months ago. What are you coming down here for? Ain't going to change nothing. President Biden, they ain't scared of President Biden. Nobody in Congress, Manchin's not, Sinema's not. No, nobody is. He's like, Mitch McConnell, that's my homeboy. We really cool, whatever. They don't pay him no attention. Like, he has really seen the fact that things are not what he thought they were. He thought that, he was going to come in office. He was going to be able to make deals. What deal has he made? I don't think he can control what he eats for dinner. Like, he has no control over anything. And he's the president. The president. 1 year in office. Where did that time go? President Biden, Kamala Harris. We are reflecting on the first year for this dynamic duo. Yeah, I'm being facetious here when I say dynamic duo. It's nothing. There's nothing dynamic about it. Now, President Biden led the largest, fastest vaccination effort in American history. This is according to the White House. It's probably true. All right. Now, in the first year the Biden-Harris administration has fully vaccinated nearly 75%. No, I mean, when you read, it's politics. So they have to beef things up. I get that. They have to make things look good. I get that. But I don't know. Do you believe it? I mean, I understand why they're doing it, right? Let's take a look at this. Okay. This is whitehouse.gov. On the homepage, naturally, that is VP Harris, President Biden. And it says President Biden and Vice President Harris promised to move quickly to deliver results for working families. That's what they've done. It says that's what they've done. Is that right though? So let's look around here a little bit. For those that are listening, we are on whitehouse.gov. And it's an interesting site. So they're going to highlight some of the things that they've accomplished. That's what they're supposed to do. Highlight some of the things that they've accomplished. If I was advising the White House, I would suggest that they play up some of their victories. Play up the victories. Not talk about the things that you didn't get done, but talk about the things that you did get done. So I'm sure that they're getting that same advice. So let's do this. Let's look at it, right? We're on the White House website, and they're going to highlight some of the stuff. So this says year one highlights. Over 200 million Americans fully vaccinated in 1 year. That's good. That's definitely something that you need to highlight. All right. So let's continue. 6.4 million jobs added, the most in any year in U.S. history. All right. That's a big deal. That's something that should be celebrated. But for some reason, a lot of these things that I'm mentioning just kind of ring hollow. Okay, over 200 million Americans fully vaccinated in 1 year. 6.4 million jobs added, the most in any year in U.S. history. Okay. I mean, I should be excited about this, right? I mean, there's a lot of inflation going on right now, a lot of other things. Let's continue. Passed the American Rescue Plan and bipartisan infrastructure law. I don't know about that. They got it on here big too. If you're listening, the print for this on the website is large. They want you to know this is large. All right. Let's dive into this. Passed the American Rescue Plan and bipartisan infrastructure law. Experts estimate the American Rescue Plan plummeted the child poverty rate to the lowest level on record, and the unemployment rate is down to 3.9%, 2 years faster than projected. The bipartisan infrastructure law will create jobs, provide clean drinking water, upgrade our roads, airports, and rail, and is a critical first step towards a more resilient future. Oh, it sounds good. It sounds really, really good. When does this happen, right? Don't talk about that too much. When is this supposed to take place? Does anybody know? Does anybody know when this is supposed to take place? How long do we have to wait? Says that it is going to create jobs, provide clean drinking water, upgrade our roads, airports, and rail. When is that going to happen? When's that going to happen? Of course, you're just tuning in. It's the Don McKay Show here on firetelevision.com. And we are talking about the White House, talking about the first year in office for Biden Harris. And biggest drop in unemployment ever, lowest child poverty rate ever. All right, so if you look at this, past the American Rescue Plan and the bipartisan infrastructure law, right? Then they have highlighted the biggest drop in unemployment ever, lowest child poverty rate ever. Both of these points were highlighted when you click this one. I'm saying that to say that they're kind of stretching this out, like they don't have a lot of things to highlight. Electric vehicle sales doubled in 1 year. Wow, they are reaching. If this is one of the highlights, I mean, it's cool, but the president's saying, well, how many electric cars do we sell? We need to put that on the website. You are really in the dumps if this is something that the president is highlighting in his first year in office, and it is like one of the main highlights. Electric vehicle sales doubled in 1 year. What does the president have to do with that? Nothing. VP Harris Biden administration is deploying more clean energy than any administration in history and jump-starting an electric vehicle future that's made in America. I mean, it sounds good. If you look at this whole thing, 5 million more Americans with health insurance, okay? When you look at this, over 200 million Americans vaccinated, 6.4 million more jobs added than any time in U.S. history. Biggest drop in unemployment. When you see this is what the re-election campaign is going to look like. The platform. This is what they're going to be touting when he goes on the road. This is it. We're in midterm elections right now. This is not anything that's going to excite Democrats. Democrats need to be excited. That's why they stood in line for President Obama. They need to be energized. Nothing in this Biden-Harris highlight package is exciting. It doesn't engage anybody. It's just like, oh, yeah, that's what it's like. All right. Got shots in arms and saved lives. I've talked about this pretty often. One thing that is super frustrating about President Biden, there are many things, but one thing that really sticks out to me. When you're talking about COVID-19 and the president says this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, and unvaccinated people are killing people, blah, 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 blah. Shut up. What are you talking about? Whoever's giving him that talking point, and maybe I would say that he said it off the top of his head, but he keeps saying it over and over again, which means he's probably reading it somewhere. Somebody in the White House told him to say it. Here, read this. You know what I mean? And that is one of the most ridiculous things that I've heard. When the president says this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, talking about COVID-19. Why am I saying that? Here's why I'm saying that. Okay. On one hand, well, also let me say he's not the only one to say that. Some of the other folks that they have out there talking about COVID-19 for the White House say these type of things, and it's ridiculous. The reason why it's ridiculous is because, and this is what adds to the confusion. Just because you're vaccinated, which vaccination is a good thing. Just because you're vaccinated, it does not stop you from getting it. It does not stop you from passing it on, right? What it does is it mitigates some of your symptoms most times, right? Now, someone who is unvaccinated can still get it and may have minor symptoms, may have no symptoms. They could be asymptomatic, or they could get really bad and end up in the hospital. But it kind of tries to scare people into thinking if you don't get vaccinated, then you're going to be in the hospital. Oh, everything's going to be bad. That's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. So this virus has been spreading because there's this mentality that the Biden administration has put out there to make folks think if they're vaccinated, everything is all good and the vaccinated people are special. So you can do whatever because you're vaccinated. It's these dirty, unvaccinated people. Yeah, spreading this around. And so they took their guards down. The vaccinated people took their guards down. And a lot of vaccinated people are spreading this around. And that mentality was put in their heads by the Biden administration in this first year. So when he says it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated, that's not true. And Joe Biden has been complicit in spreading misinformation. Now, when we go back to the website, I don't see that on there. They didn't highlight that part. Oh, man. But got shots in arms. This is what it said. We're back on the website. Whitehouse.gov. Got shots in arms and saved lives. The president set up a historic vaccination program that resulted in more than 200 million Americans fully vaccinated this year, almost 75% of all adults. Millions of teenagers and children are now vaccinated, and tens of millions of Americans are getting booster shots. The president closed the racial equity gap in COVID vaccination among adults, and about 96% of schools are open. All of these steps have saved and continue to save countless lives. Yeah. I have a lot of issues with that. Yeah, it's written up really nice, but it's really flimsy, the things that they said when you hold it to the light. When you hold that stuff to the light, what I just read from whitehouse.gov, it is kind of flimsy. So I don't remember what reporter it was, but during the press conference that the president gave, where he spoke to the media for, I don't know, about an hour or so, maybe he's up there 2 hours. They asked about redefining what the word fully vaccinated means to include the ever talked about booster shot. And if they're saying that you got to get boosted, right? AKA, they don't want to use the word, but this is a third shot. Why not just call it a third shot? Why are we saying boosted, right? Just call it a third shot. So it's like you get one shot, you get two shots, you get boosted. No, just one shot, two shot, three shots. Just call it a third shot. But you know why they don't want to call it a third shot? And you know why they don't want to redefine what fully vaccinated is? Because the amount of folks that have gotten boosted, AKA their third shot, is not that many comparatively. So if they redefine what fully vaccinated is, that number that I just read gets a lot lower. So it's not 200 million fully vaccinated, because the definition of fully vaccinated is not 2 shots. It's 3 shots. Now, what's the number for how many people got 3 shots? They don't want to talk about that. Right? They don't want to. We don't want to talk about that. And he was asked this question, and he didn't want to. No, he ain't fully boosted. Yeah, he did not want to go into that. The president closed the racial equity gap in COVID vaccinations among adults. I hate the way sometimes politicians in the medical community speak about black people, minority people, people of color. We have all these disparities, and we're more prone to get shut up. That this narrative that is put out by liberals a lot. Well, I don't even say just by liberals. Conservatives do it too. That black people just need you to do something. If you could just help these folks out, it's just it's frustrating. It's a victim mentality that they put on people, and there are, I would suppose, something to that a bit, but they try to use this broad stroke to paint all black people a certain way, and I don't like that. I don't like that. Just tuning in, it's the Don McKay Show on firetelevision.com. We are talking about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, first year in office. Good? Is it bad? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Could you see yourself doing this again? Could you vote for them again? Will you vote for them again? We're talking about that and kind of dissecting this. Joe Biden is going on 80 years old. Right? Joe Biden is going on 80 years old. Now, I don't think he's going to be hanging around as long as the beloved Betty White did. So Democrats have to be thinking about next moves. Kamala Harris is the VP, so I guess she's the next move. I don't know how excited they are about that, though. I don't know. We'll take a quick break and come back with more of the program after this. Welcome back. You man, Don McKay in here, of course, the Don McKay Show. Anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube.com/DJ Don McKay, WRF Radio. Download that app anywhere. Just search the Don McKay Show. So we are talking about Joe Biden, VP Kamala Harris. And, this whole first year has been frustrating to me. Frustrating to me for so many reasons. This should have been a real new day. This should have been something that the American people could get excited about. I just don't know if that's what we got. I don't feel like it. Do you feel excited? Huh? Do you feel excited? Let's go back to the website. This is whitehouse.gov. And they highlight some of the, air quotes, accomplishments. Some of the things that they're celebrating. And there's not a whole lot here to celebrate. 1 year of Biden and Harris. President Biden and Vice President Harris took office amid several crises. And they promised to move quickly to deliver results for working families. Move quickly is not something that happened with this administration. When we get to voting rights, when we talk about move quickly, you have a lot of activists that think that Harris and Biden did a lot of things, but moving quickly was not one of them. Anyway, he continued to deliver results for working families. That's what they've done. Here is just some of what President Biden and Vice President Harris have delivered for American people since taking office. Oh, yeah? I'd like to hear more. Got shots in the arms. We talked about that. Drove a historic economic recovery and jobs growth. Wait, what? What happened? What are they talking about right now? But according to this propaganda from whitehouse.gov, it says this: President Biden has grown the economy faster than in decades and added 6.4 million jobs, more in 1 year than ever on record. Recent weekly unemployment claims are down near a level not seen since 1969. Economic growth is the strongest in 2 generations. There's always this sensationalism about stuff. All the people that write this come from the same school of thought. It's just like, this is the brightest light bulb ever seen since, it's just sensational, right? But when everything you say is supposed to be sensational, nothing is sensational. Nothing is sensational. So it continues. Would we do this again? I don't know. Now, listen, I didn't want to vote for Trump. I did not vote for Trump. I voted for Biden. Would I do that again? It depends on who's. My father gets mad when I say this. It depends on who he's running against. It does. But hopefully we get a new Democrat running and a new Republican running, like 2 different people. I really don't want to see Trump and Biden again. No. So pass the American Rescue Plan and bipartisan infrastructure law. Why do they keep talking about bipartisan? It is an attempt by the White House to try to win over some independents and some Republicans. So he keeps saying bipartisan. It's a word that they throw around, and I don't think that it has the impact that they think that it has. I don't think that it holds weight outside of the DC metro political community. The average person is like, but was that bipartisan bill? No, they don't care about that. I don't understand why it's touted so much. People outside of Washington don't care about bipartisanship, headlines. Did you pass something that they agree with or not? But it's not like Republicans are going to like Biden because it was a bipartisan bill. It's reaching. They just be reaching. All right, so the bipartisan infrastructure law will create jobs, provide clean drinking water, upgrade our roads, airports, critical first. We talked about that. And the fact that they keep copying and pasting the same stuff shows that they didn't get a lot done. Says that they expanded affordable health care. President Biden increased the number of Americans with health care coverage to the highest number ever and slashed premiums for millions. What? When? When? Where? No. Here's the other thing. You can't only take credit for the good stuff and not take ownership of the bad things that happen. But maybe that's further down on the website. Let's continue to go. All right. As a result of his actions, what actions did the president take with regards to affordable health care? These are just things that they're just throwing out there, right? We're just going to say this. When has he talked about expanding health care? Does anybody know that? I don't know. As a result of his actions, what actions are these? I guess he's going to say that he slashed the premiums, and as a result of the premium slashing Joe Biden, that hundreds of thousands of Americans pay premiums as low as $10. He just banned surprise billing. He has talked about that. An issue that has been particularly concerning to Americans in the past few years, and lowered the co-pays that many Americans pay. Not a lot to be excited about here at all. So here's one of the things that he touted he wanted to do, I suppose. Restored America's global leadership. global leadership of America. We are on whitehouse.gov. Now, this is definitely a jab at former President Trump. You talk about restoring America's global leadership. This is important now. President Biden restored our global alliances and ended America's longest war. Now, I'm honestly going to say I did not think that they were going to bring up Afghanistan, even if it was just in passing. So they don't really say the word, right? The country's name is not said, but they said that he ended America's longest war. For the first time in a generation, Americans are not deployed overseas in an ongoing war. Now, that sentence is powerful. I will admit that. That sentence is powerful. Actually, let's read that again. For the first time in a generation, Americans are not deployed overseas in an ongoing war. That is something to think about, and that is something. It was a rocky road to get out of there, but we're out of there. And the fact, when you really think of the magnitude of that statement, President Biden restored our global alliances and ended America's longest war. For the first time in a generation, Americans are not deployed overseas in an ongoing war. Some people, that's all that's happened all their lives. America has been in perpetual war. United States donated and delivered nearly 40 million vaccinations to developing countries, more than every other country in the world. Now, this section that I'm reading here that's talking about this, I think that this is one of the biggest things that happened during the last year that the president is taking credit for, and it is way down the list. Look how far down the list that is. I think that this is actually one of the better things. I do. Now it was a hard road to get there, but he got there, right? Took aggressive action to tackle the climate crisis. What aggressive action did he take? Let's see what the good publicists over at the White House had to say. President Biden rejoined the Paris Agreement and reestablished U.S. leadership at the Global Conference on Climate Change. Oh, Trump pulled out. Biden went back in and said, hey, let me get that gavel. America's back in the building. He jump-started an electric future made in America, doubling electric vehicle sales in a year. He is deploying more wind and solar energy, more than ever before in the history of wind, and addressing the long-standing negative effects of legacy pollution and advancing environmental justice in underserved communities, and creating good-paying union jobs. These are good-paying union jobs. And making our country stronger and more resilient to climate change. All those were a bunch of gibberish words. All right. Got back. Let's sum that up. Okay. Got back in the Paris Agreement, took control of the Paris Agreement, and made some deals with some car folks and gave them some tax breaks so they could sell some more cars. All right, I mean, okay, I suppose. Now, as we continue, get down to these last 4 points that they want to highlight. Addressed gun violence and crime. Oh my God. The good folks over at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in the White House had the nerve, the gall, the audacity to say that in this first year, they addressed gun violence and crime when all we talk about is the increase of violent crime. All we see is gun violence. Well, if that's something they have on here near the bottom, but they have that on here, they've done a terrible job with that. Why would they put that on here? Who wrote this? Let's read this joke here. President Biden issued a comprehensive strategy to reduce gun crime, including cracking down on gun trafficking and the proliferation of ghost guns. The Department of Justice banned federal law enforcement from using chokeholds and no-knock entries. And President Biden provided cities historic levels of funding through the American Rescue Plan to put more cops on the beat and invest in community programs that are proven to reduce crime and make our communities safer. This is a load of crap. They should not even have put that on here. Like, that is so maddening. They did nothing. They did not impact gun violence or crime. You want to say they addressed it? I mean, I suppose. I suppose he issued a comprehensive strategy. Didn't change anything. Bolstered domestic manufacturing. Now, this is something that if it really had a significant, took some significant steps, would be something to be proud of. Part of the problem is we have too many things that are made outside of this country. Too many businesses were incentivized to take their headquarters overseas and to have much of the work happening overseas. And we have been feeling and seeing the results of that since the 90s, when that stuff really, really started to really happen big in the 90s. We are still feeling the effects of that now. Bolstered domestic manufacturing. That's what the White House is saying. President Biden increased the competitiveness of the U.S. economy by finalizing the most significant changes to Buy American in almost 70 years. I don't know. He directed federal dollars to U.S. manufacturers by creating the first ever Made in America office. This is not something he talked about a lot. Under his Made in America executive order, federal purchases will help to bolster domestic manufacturing and manufacturing supply chains and support good paying union jobs. They write this in the vein of the president, right? Good paying union jobs there. I mean, we're just going to sit there with their lunch pails and listen to AM radio. Like it's like an outdated way of speaking that only highlights how old our president really is. Just tuning in to the Dominic K Show here on Fire Television, radioonfire.com. Of course, I am here weekdays, 8 a.m. Do this. Take a quick break. Come back. More of the show after this. Welcome back. Welcome back. Your man Diamond K in here, of course. Here on the show, we deliver the biggest political and trending news stories of the day with interviews and original reporting from Baltimore, Atlanta, Dallas, and the country. The show is fun, the show is upbeat, but I also want to expose what is really happening. I give you politics from an independent perspective. If a Republican is wrong, you usually are, I'm going to call it out. If a Democrat is wrong, I'm going to call that out too. We spent this whole show calling out wrong Democrats, Biden and Harris. Join me live weekdays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. for the Diamond K Show on firetelevision.com, radioonfire.com. So we're talking about this first year of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Does it seem like it's been a year? Couple more things to hit on their list. Two more things. Confirmed historic judges. How many judges? Not a lot. More of President Biden's lower court judicial nominees were confirmed in his first year than any president since Kennedy. I mean, it's so funny when they say these things. And the president appointed more black women on the Court of Appeals than any president ever. What did we do, like 2? The last thing that he has on this list shows you how important it is to him. Last thing, advanced racial equity. It's not a big priority for Joe Biden. President Biden signed a day one executive order on advancing equity and racial justice and a separate executive order to expand diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility across the federal government. The administration set a government-wide goal of increasing the share of federal contracts to small disadvantaged businesses, including those owned by people of color, by 50% by fiscal year 25, meaning an increase of $1 billion to those firms over 5 years. The administration provided $3 billion in American Rescue Plan specifically for tribal communities and Native people, and $13 billion in direct investments in tribal communities through the bipartisan infrastructure law. You know, I don't know if the people that are advising him, if he listens to all the good advice. This is something that he should have made more of a priority: racial equity. Now, when we talk about the things that the Biden administration feels that they did good, these are the things that they think they did good, right? These are supposed to be the things that they are proud of, right? These are supposed to be those things. And I don't see a whole lot here. I don't. I mean, there's some nice pictures, but I don't see a whole lot of substance here with what he said. When we talk about this first year and what he claims to have gotten done, right? We got to also talk about what didn't get done. We have to talk about the things that did not go right. And there are many. There are many things to talk about. The fact that as the president, you would think that he would have control. Talking about Joe Biden. Have some control over the things that happened. About half of the nominees awaiting Senate confirmation, right? Biden is struggling right now. Kamala Harris is struggling. The inflation problem seems to only be getting worse. Is Joe Biden failing right now? Is he failing? Is he flailing? What is it? There's something. There's something. The issue with voting rights, that's been a big failure for the president. The filibuster. It's been something that's major, a major point. Someone who was, in the Congress for as long as he was. He has a very, can we say, checkered past in Congress. A lot of Congress people, they don't want to change the law, filibuster for this, do it for this, but not for that, not for voting rights. Many black folks feel that President Biden and his administration has not taken the priorities of the people that helped him. Some important people that helped him, a very important community, the black community helped him. And when we look at the website, racial equity was literally the bottom of the list. That's so tone deaf. Because when election time comes, if election time comes for Joe Biden, he's going to be back at the same churches, back hanging out with Mr. Clyburn in South Carolina, trying to get them to save him. But he clearly has a bad memory. A time's going to come when you're going to need these same people that you literally put at the bottom of your list. The bottom of your list. And you're going to need their votes, Joe Biden. You're going to need their votes, Kamala Harris. Yeah. Memories are short. How popular is Joe Biden? I don't know. I don't know. Would you vote for him again? Would you vote for Joe Biden again? I suppose that the jury's still out. How the midterm elections go, that's going to say a lot. How the midterm elections go. What is that going to mean for some of these Democrats that are running around the country? One of the main things that got President Biden elected was this return to normalcy. Ain't nothing normal about right now. But I will say this. It is not as chaotic as it was under former President Trump. Not as chaotic. Can this administration get things back on track? It's not too late. It's only been a year. Seems like it's been so much longer, but it's only been a year. Now, Democrats have lost support among Americans. Kamala Harris is no exception. She has lost support as well. She has lost support as well. She has a lot of work to do. I just, she has a lot of work to do. And I just don't know if she is willing to do the work that is required. I don't know. We've been here assessing President Biden's first year in office. We know what they think. They think they've done the best job of anybody in the history of working, right? But 1 year in, VP Harris and President Biden are still struggling to define themselves. He said during the press conference, what do Republicans stand for? All they want to do is obstruct. I thought that was a very powerful line. Surprisingly, none of my colleagues in the media asked President Biden, what do you stand for? President Biden, what do you stand for? What are you for? 1 year later, and 8 years in the White House as vice president, and I don't know, 30 years in Congress, I don't know what he stands for. Do any of you know what President Biden stands for? When he was talking about foreign policy and Russia and all of the missteps that he did when speaking about that, as soon as that press conference was over, he had his folks out there trying to backtrack on all the stuff that he said. Confusing. He was confusing himself. He defended his first year in office the best that he could. But anytime that you have President Biden speaking for any extended amount of time, he's going to say some crazy stuff. A very, very scaled back agenda. He's been trying to defend his first year in office. I'm not going to say that it was indefensible, but it was definitely uninspired. Uninspired. 1 year in office. Will Kamala Harris be Joe Biden's running mate in 2024? He said this: she's going to be my running mate. Saying of VP Harris, said this at the press conference. That press conference that marked his first year in office. She is going to be my running mate. Okay. Now, in mid-December, if you remember, Harris said she and the president had not yet discussed 2024, the election of 2024. There was a lot of speculation going around that she may not be running for with Biden if he ran again. Now, she's been history making, but the halo that she had on her head has been slipping and drooping amid the negative press. The negative press alleging dysfunction among her staff, doubt on her standing within the administration, and her frustration over some difficult assignments, thorny assignments, such as minority voting access in migration and a crisis at the southern border. She ain't like being involved in none of that. But hey, you the vice president. This is the job. You serve at the pleasure of the president. Now, Biden did defend VP Harris's record on tackling voting rights, even though what has been done on voting rights from the Democratic perspective, not much. I did put her in charge, he said. I think she's doing a good job. Democrats and voting rights activists have championed measures as necessary. Biden, of course, pressed Congress to pass two major bills broadening access to the ballot box. This has been something that has been on the minds and hearts of voting activists. It has not been something that's been important to President Biden. Last on his list was mentions of equity. Nowhere on his list was mentions of voting because he's got nothing done with regards to that. Now, 1 year into office, he's finally getting around to trying to get 2 major bills passed broadening access to the ballot box. Yeah, you can see there's not a whole lot to celebrate if you are in Team Biden. Not a whole lot to celebrate. But it's still early, still 1 year. We'll do this time next year. We'll look at this track record. We'll look at things and see if he's made some progress. I'm not sure. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show, onfiretelevision.com. The Diamond K Show is an On Fire Television production. You can get this program on demand, the WRF Radio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, of course, youtube.com/DJ Diamond K. And I'll be back here later on this weekend and, of course, on Monday morning. On Fire Television is an advertiser-supported audio and video network. Get breaking news, podcasts, TV shows that are covering topics that are important to our culture. OnFireTelevision.com is where you go to discover, engage, and connect with the latest news, podcasts, and, of course, original TV programs. Support the Diamond K Show and this digital network. Head on over to OnFireTelevision.com, RadioOnFire.com. Grab a t-shirt or some other merch. Become a sponsor of the program for as little as $50. I'm able to deliver our news and our views on this program because of our listeners, sponsors, and, of course, you. I will be back here, like I said, this weekend. A lot going on, a lot of things to get to. See you guys later.